What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome to another season. I am so excited to be back here for my third season being a Cowboys content creator. And here we are. The preseason is finally here. Let's jump on into it.
Prescott, touchdown. Throw, look at the middle, smacked again by Parsons again. CD Lamb, was he down? They say no for now, and he's into the end zone.
Yes, a new season is upon us finally, and thank God football is back. I am so happy. And like I said, if you're new here, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more Cowboys content. We're going to be here all season long. I've been waiting all summer to say that. And if you've been with me, whether you discovered me on TikTok, YouTube here, or Instagram, be sure to let me know down below. And if you've been with me since my first season or my second season, even more so, let me know, comment down below. I would love to hear from you and get to know you. But this is the preseason, and I'll be candid. I could not care less about who wins this game. It's the preseason. No one cares who wins or loses. And just frame of reference, back in 2012 when the Cowboys had that great season where they went 12-4 and they lost in that infamous Green Bay game with the Dez catch, they were 0-4 in the preseason. So you could go 4-0, you can go 0-4. It really does not matter. It does not impact the regular season in any facet. And so, but this roster is different. And if you saw my season prediction, and if you usually release every May, I mentioned that this team is different and what they've been doing in the offseason, during the draft, during free agency. It has really shaped this team to be different than normal, than other teams, older teams that we've seen from the Dallas Cowboys. And dare I say, this is one of the more talented rosters. So, but in my opinion, I do believe this is one of the more talented rosters that we've seen here in Dallas, probably since 2 seasons ago, and maybe going further back, 2018, where we went 8-8. But that was a very underwhelming and disappointing season. Regardless, I think this preseason we have 3 games. We're playing the Jaguars here this Saturday. Then we're going to Seattle and play the Seahawks. And then we're ending it with the Las Vegas Raiders back in Arlington. Now, this preseason is really interesting because not only is it shorter, but I think it's going to allow us to see a lot of players that we normally wouldn't see during the regular season. And like I said, this roster is talented, so we're going to get some really good talent and solid players during the preseason. And I'm not going to bore you with my defensive predictions or offensive predictions or even game predictions. Rather, the preseason here for the next 3 games, what we're going to do is we're going to point out some players that I believe we should be watching that will have an impact on the regular season. So sit back, relax, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Cowboys content as we jump on in. So the Jaguars have announced that they're going to be playing a few starters in the first couple of series. It's yet to be determined whether it's going to be 1 series or 2 series. Regardless, we're going to see Trevor Lawrence in this capacity. We're going to see some of their starters, and I think that's a really good measuring marker. Now, in terms of our starters, dear God, I hope we don't play any starters. Please no. Romo in Seattle has scarred me for the rest of my life, even if it's just a drive. There's no benefit versus what could happen. There's no benefit of playing a starter during a preseason game. And I'm talking about Dak Prescott. I'm talking about CD Lamb. I'm talking about Michael Parsons. It is reported that they will be sitting for the whole preseason, which is the absolute right decision. Now, there's a few players, right, like Brandon Cooks, a couple that I can't name off the top of my head, but I know Brandon Cooks jumps out right there. They'll be in and out, maybe one of those first couple of drives, and I think that's going to be really interesting to see. And I do want to see that. I do want to see those type of starters in the preseason before we jump into the regular season. But man, if you've been tuning in, watching the training clips that I've been posting, watching the practice clips that have been shared all over social media, this team looks ready. This team looks like it's ready to pick up right where it left off. DQ coming back for a 3rd season as our defensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy back for his 4th season. This team looks like it's about ready just to pick up right where they left off, and I'm really excited about that. But let's go ahead and jump in. I got 3 players that we should watch here in the first game of the preseason. The first one is a name that you're going to see on a lot of lists in the NFL and content creators for the Dallas Cowboys, but I do believe it's noteworthy to say it again. I'm looking at linebacker Damone Clark. Now, if you look at the practice clips, if you look at his work during training camp, he looks explosive, he looks fast, he looks agile, he's very exciting to watch, and I can't wait to get him in a game and watch what he can do with the full set of reps. If you look at the season stats right here, I'm going to pull them right in front of you. Last season, he had 29 solo tackles and 2 forced fumbles. I remember one of those forced fumbles. I was there in person. It was against the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday Night Football. He stripped that ball out, and they returned it for a touchdown. Malik Hooker grabbed it and ran it back against his former team. Now, Damone Clark is a 5th-round draft pick from the 2022 NFL Draft. Very much a young guy, and like I said, he's young. He has speed. He's aggressive. I remember watching one of those individual drills that they were doing at training camp, and Leighton started off the drill, and Leighton looks great as he always does. He's nice, strong, and stout, and but the one that stuck out to me, and I'll play the clip right here, the one that stuck out to me is Damone Clark. He looks fast, he looks strong, and he's probably one of those underrated pieces in this DQ defense that could really go the distance this season, especially when we're looking at reps and we're looking at different looks that Dan Quinn likes to do in the defense. Damone Clark could be in for a spectacular season, and I would not be surprised if he did. And so he is one I'm definitely looking forward to watching this Saturday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's move on to the second one here. It's not really a player, but a set of players. It's actually specifically a position. And before I say it, I do want to say that there are so many players, so many positions to be looking out for this preseason. It sucked to only pick 3, but don't worry. There's 2 other preseason games. I'm going to be going different ones. We're going to be looking at the running back group. We're going to be looking at the defensive back group. Don't worry. We're going to break them all down. There's so much content out there that you can divulge to see the different opinions and different perspectives that Cowboy fans have towards this preseason. But what I'm looking forward most is this wide receiver battle. Guys, we already know who's going to be the 3 wide receivers. We know CeeDee Lamb's going to have a great season. We're looking forward to Michael Gallup being that wide receiver 2 and hopefully bouncing back from his ACL injury a couple of seasons ago. And new addition, Brandon Cooks. He looks great in training camp, and he's going to rock that position, and he's exactly what Dak Prescott needed. Now, when you look at the wide receiver 4 position and the wide receiver 5 position, it's technically up for grabs. Now, I have a hunch that Kevontae Turpin may be utilized a lot more this season. Again, if you look at the training camp clips, if you look at the practice clips, they're using Turpin quite a bit in those short yardage situations, something that previous offensive coordinator Kellen Moore didn't quite do. And so now we got the new guy, the new offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer, Mike McCarthy calling the plays. You already see the influence. You see Turpin, like I said, in those short yard situations, those quick slants in and out. And so I think that wide receiver 4 or 5 is going to Turpin. Easy. They're going to be using him a lot more. And there was another report that came out that Turpin's not really being used in the special teams. They've been working Deuce Vaughn out over there, rookie Deuce Vaughn out of this past draft class. And so look for Turpin to be used a lot in those situations. And again, I'm very excited to see that. I think he can really provide a quickness to the offense. And that's the other thing, guys. This offense looks fast. You look at all the clips, you look at all of our wide receivers. They are quick, fast guys. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks, Kevontae Turpin. It's going to be a hard time stopping these guys. Tony Pollard, our running back. This offense is going to be very exciting to see in the upcoming season. But when we jump down to this wide receiver battle, it really comes down to 2 players, in my opinion, Jalen Tolbert and Simi Fehoko. There's a couple other players here, but I really want to focus on these 2 players, and I will be watching them in this specific game as well as the rest of the preseason. Let's jump into Jalen Tolbert. Jalen Tolbert is a 3rd-round draft pick in the 2022 draft. Last season, if you look at his season stats down below, 2 catches for 12 yards. Yeah, not a whole lot, not a big sample size, but I'm hoping in this new system with Schottenheimer, we we may see a little bit more Jalen Tolbert, especially with that draft pick. You drop a 3rd round draft pick on a wide receiver, you best be using him, or at least trying to put him in positions to see if he actually has what it takes to be a high caliber receiver in the NFL. So I'm really cheering for Jalen Tolbert. I posted all on my social media all last season. I was saying Tolbert season, Tolbert season, Tolbert season, just really cheering on the guy. I think he got the short end of the stick, and I think this just might be the year to allow him to grow into a more sufficient role, and we might see something better from Jalen Tolbert. Now, on the other side, we have Simi Fehoko coming out of the 5th round. He's a 5th round draft pick back from 2021, so he's been with the Cowboys for a while, and he's still battling for that spot to make that leap, to make that jump. If you look at his season stats, he had 3 receptions for 24 yards last season. Now, if you look at the training camp clips and the practice clips, Jalen Tolbert really surprised everyone and had a really good first week at training camp. I mean, he looks really good. Now, Simi Fehoko, I don't want to be so quick and judge a guy. I don't want to, because there's 2 different, and I'm going to touch on this here in a little bit. But Simi Fehoko, for me, from what I've seen, and I have not been at training camp, I've not been up in Oxnard, but from what I've seen from all the clips that all the reporters have been posting, it's kind of been going back and forth. I've seen some bad plays from Simi Fehoko. I've seen some plays bounce off of his hands, turn into an interception. I've seen him not competing for the ball. But I've also seen him run great routes. I've also seen him get open. I've seen him score touchdowns. So I'm not going to lean more to one side or the other, but I really feel like Simi Fehoko is he's been in the middle of good and bad. And I know practice is one thing, so that's why this is so important to be tuning into the preseason to see these guys in action. Because Tolbert may have had the better training camp, and Simi Fehoko may not have had the best training camp, so on and so forth, whatever it may be. But you got to see these guys in action. You guys got to see them against other teams and see how they look, because it could be the other way. Jalen Tolbert could struggle, but also Simi Fehoko could have a big day in one of these preseason games, and that's something that captures eyes from coaches and players around the league. And so those are the 2 that I'm going to be looking at. That's the 2 that you should be studying as well, to be watching to see who can get separation, who can get catches, and who can make a bigger impact on this offense. That wide receiver 4 or 5 position is so important. And you know, you look at the stats, these guys are probably going to get less than 10 catches, less than 5 catches on a season. But when you're in the game, when you're in those regular season games, they are important moments, important, significant moments to the team. And so I'm really excited to see Tolbert and Fehoko go at it, see what happens there. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about the wide receiver situation as well. But last but not least, and thank you so much for tuning in for another pregame prediction video here. I've talked about defense with Damone Clark. I've talked about the offense with the wide receiver battle. But this is probably the biggest one on my list, because if you guys know me, if you've seen me a couple of seasons, you know I'm really big on special teams. I feel like Mike McCarthy has been a great coach to emphasize all 3 points of the game. And so here we go. My 3rd player to watch this Saturday in the first preseason game against the Jacksonville Jaguars is former soccer player, our kicker, Brandon Aubrey. Our only kicker, by the way, because we let go of Tristan Vizcaino, and now we only have Brandon Aubrey. This is interesting. He's the only kicker, and I think this works in 2 different situations here. And the Cowboys, I will be so frustrated. I will be so angry if we do not see a field goal on Saturday. I think they should make an active choice to get in field goal positions to see if Brandon Aubrey can handle those sort of kicks. Because in 2 ways, it goes 2 ways, in my opinion, and I'm about to break it down here for you. One, you see if he has it or not. If he goes 3 for 3, great. You move on to the next week. You don't have to go out and look for another kicker, because at this point, he's got some good momentum. But on the other side, if he goes 3 for 5, 1 for 3, anything like that, that immediately answers your question, and that helps the Cowboys accelerate that process for looking for a kicker. And that excites me, because we're no longer experimenting with Aubrey or Vizcaino, or we can actually go out and possibly get a veteran kicker. And there's some good names out there. There's Robbie Gould, there's Mason Crosby, and Mason Crosby has strong correlations back to Mike McCarthy in Green Bay, and Robbie Gould is a solid veteran kicker coming out of San Francisco. And so I think it works both ways. If Aubrey kicks a really good preseason, okay, fine. He's earned the job. Let's give him a shot here in the regular season. We kind of said the same thing about Brett Maher at the beginning of last season. But if it doesn't work out, if it doesn't pan out, well, we got 3 weeks to test that theory out. And if it doesn't work, there are guys out there that we know can kick, or at least gives us a better option to kick. And so if you look at the report, I mean, like I said, Aubrey has some good momentum. Last week in training camp, he apparently went 11 for 11, which is something that was unheard of from our kickers during training camp. Vizcaino struggled. Aubrey went 5 for 7, 6 for 9 some days. But right now, I mean, the job is his, and he went 11 for 11. And so by all means, if you can keep that going, great. But it should be noted that they were 50 yards and under. I really want to see Aubrey 50 yards and over. Those are important kicks, and sometimes that's when those game-winning kicks can come into play there. And so that's about it, guys. Those are my 3 players to watch, or my 3 sections to watch. Damone Clark, the wide receiver battle between Simi Fehoko and Jalen Tolbert, and our kicker situation with Brandon Aubrey. What I want to know is, which player are you most excited to see? Be sure to comment down below. Let me know. And as of course, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more Cowboys content. And if you guys haven't, be sure to follow me on all my social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. But other than that, I will see you guys after the game. We'll talk, we'll break it down, reactions after the game. But other than that, I will see you guys then. Go Cowboys!
Prescott.